Here are 7 items to look out for when you buy an older house. Number 1 is asbestos. Asbestos is a natural product found in the earth. It's kind of like a fibrous rock. Now this material they used a lot like in the 1920s all the way to about 1970s in construction materials in homes. It was a great product because it was fire retardant, it was a great insulant, but it caused lung cancer. And we didn't find that out until years later after this had already been put in a ton of homes. Now, asbestos can be a problem because it could be found in a lot of parts in your home. Typically, I'm going to see a lot of asbestos as far as asbestos heat tape wrapped around the vents inside homes. You could have the ceiling drop tiles that have asbestos in them. On the exterior of your house, you could have an asbestos clapboard siding. It could even be in the roofing materials. It could be in the floor. Asbestos could often be found in popcorn ceilings that were built in the 1970s. So asbestos, like I said, can be found in a lot of places. You want to make sure you hire someone that can test for asbestos because asbestos is the leading natural cause of lung cancer. It's something that I would take seriously and really look at getting rid of or encapsulating it. There are ways to kind of take care of asbestos, one of which is you can encapsulate it, so just covering asbestos. 2 is you could hire a professional licensed asbestos contractor to then remediate and take care of the issue. Either way, it's something that I would look for if you're going to buy an older house. Number 2 is lead. So any home built prior to 1978 has a risk of having lead mixed in the paint in the interior of the walls or exterior. So this could be a problem because lead can cause cancer, it can cause abnormality, it can cause serious problems, especially with infants if they were to inhale or to take in lead. So be careful, sometimes kids would gnaw on the windowsills and there could be lead in there. Just make sure you're protected. I would hire someone to test for lead if you're going to buy an old home. There are ways to treat it. You could put a product over the lead to kind of encapsulate it again, or you can have it removed entirely. Double check with a licensed lead contractor to make sure you're remediating it properly. Now number 3, I call my big 2, which is plumbing and electrical. Any old house is just going to have older parts, and parts are going to wear out over time. Now I like to always check the plumbing. In older homes, you see typically a lot of galvanized steel pipes. Now over time, they're going to corrode, they're probably going to break, they're probably going to leak. Just make sure those are tested. The other thing is once they went from a galvanized steel, they then jumped to copper piping, which I thought was good. And then they tried to cut back on construction costs and said, well, let's not use copper anymore. Let's use a plastic product. So then they switched to a polybutylene, which is this gray product right here. Now the thing with this gray product, it was nice because it was bendable, but the problem is it was prone to more breakage and cracking, which could cause plumbing issues inside your home. So this is something to think about if you are buying a house that has polybutylene piping. Just double check to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. And the newest product that I'm aware of that is building material and up to building code is PEX plumbing. So that's this nice plastic product. It doesn't break like polybutylene piping. It's flexible. It's a lot easier to use. You don't have to solder the fittings on like you would with copper or a steel type of pipe. So get that inspected, double check, because plumbing can cause a lot of money problems down the road if you have breaks or leaks, mold, stuff like that. Now the other part of that is you want to get the electrical looked at. So you want to make sure that you've got GFI outlets where they should properly be located per building code. You also want to make sure that your electrical is grounded, that there isn't a chance of fires happening within your house. Make sure that your wiring is up to code or a newer type of wiring just to have a safer home. So look at that because that could be a life-saving issue, or it could even be an issue that could save you thousands of dollars down the road by checking it up front. Number 4 is check the sewer main. Older houses, like I said, have older parts. So from the piping between your house and the street, there's a big pipe called your sewer main. Now, a lot of times in the earlier days, typically the 40s and 50s, they didn't use a steel pipe. They used kind of like a cardboard product because a lot of the metal material was being pumped into World War II. Now, over time, this is going to break, it's going to crack, and it's going to cause issues. I had a good friend of mine buy a house that was built around this time, and they remodeled the entire house, looked gorgeous. They moved in, and a year later, sewage started coming back in through the house. They found out that the sewer main there was a crack in the sewer main. It ended up costing $10,000 plus. So make sure you check that ahead of time. You can contact the plumber, you can contact your home inspection company. Oftentimes they'll have a little camera and they can scope the sewer main to make sure there's no problems with that. Now, number 5 is I would look at the foundation. Older homes weren't typically reinforced with like rebar like they are today. Sometimes a really, really old house will just have rocks put on top of each other with mortar mixed in between. Now, double check, make sure your foundation is good. You don't want any off-even spots in the house. If you can see like cracks above doorways, stuff like that, that could be an indication of foundation problems. Foundation is really expensive to fix, so make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into ahead of time by checking the foundation. Number 6 is check for mold. Now, mold, you can see it, you cannot see it. There could be mold spores in the air and you might not even know it. So I would always get a mold test just to make sure that you're living in a clean and healthy house with clean air. There are ways to remediate it. You can contact mold remediation companies. Sometimes mold is under the floors and you might not even see it. Sometimes it's behind the walls and you might not even see it. So just because you don't see it doesn't mean that it's not there or could not be there. Just double check that, make sure that you're safe. It could cost you a couple $100 to get a mold test. Well worth the investment versus paying, thousands of dollars later to get mold remediated. Now, number 7, which is my last tip, is to check for meth. Now, just because you have an older house doesn't mean you have meth, but you do have a lot more people that have been coming and going through that house. And if someone had maybe smoked meth and had on their clothes, maybe it gets on the walls, it doesn't typically dissipate as fast or as easily as you think it does. It tends to stick inside the house, and by breathing in meth over time, it can make you sick, it can cause health issues, and it's expensive to fix if you don't take care of it ahead of time. So make sure you check for meth. There are meth remediation companies that can take care of it. Typically what they'll do is they'll just take a little swab, they'll open up the air return, they'll swab inside the air return, put it in a bag, and then send it to a lab to then test. It's well worth it. It's a couple $100 to be able to save you from maybe $3,000, $4,000 or plus dollars down the road to fix it later. Those are my 7 tips. I hope you found those helpful, useful. I know if I'm buying an older house, that's what I'm typically looking for, because I want to make sure if I'm buying a expensive property that I'm properly taken care of and I know what I'm getting myself into ahead of time. That's it for this video. Subscribe, like, watch my next videos, share these videos. I want the whole world to know about these videos so that people can be better prepared when they buy older homes. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. I will catch you on the next video.